Hello, and welcome to Healing Tips from the Heart, Intuition with Helpers, Healers, and Guides. I am your host, Dr. Lori Hops, licensed psychologist, writer, and artist. I've explored mind, body, and spirit related to intuition, or your personal guidance system, since early childhood. Meet my guests who have learned from their personal and professional lives to explore vast realms of knowing, synchronicities, and overcoming challenges. Their stories may inspire you with tools to enhance your daily living and relationships. Hello, everyone, and welcome my special guest for today, Kenji Kumara. Kenji is an energetic identity deeply rooted in his capacity as a channel holder and initiator of expanded, grounded awareness. This designation is part of his auric field of being able to receive, process, and transmit high-frequency energies with remarkable clarity. He has been doing this work for many decades and brings so much of himself to the moment with multiple layers of reality and dimensions beyond what we can see, hear, feel, think. And the important part that he brings is the power of presence. Kenji has a private practice in Sedona, Arizona, in the United States, where he offers online membership programs and pre-recorded programs and activation bundles of his teachings. And he has been in this field of consciousness transformation, known as a wisdom knower. And I am delighted to have Kenji here with us today. And I'd like everyone to know that Kenji and I have only met through a summit that we were both in, the Resonance Rising Summit with Marissa Rhodes. And I was so impressed by his presentation that I invited him to this podcast to share with this audience as well. And so I hope one day, Kenji, you and I will actually meet in person, and I will get to experience that wonderful energy that you so masterfully create, even through the internet. So thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you. And I will take you up on that offer. So whenever you get a calling to visit Sedona, we will take you on a wonderful sacred hike and maybe give you a wave lesson and go out to dinner and breakfast and just have a lot of fun. So keep that in mind.
Thank you. I accept already. I know it will happen. So thank you. And is there anything else you'd like the audience to know at this point before we launch into our discussion and experience?
I would say to be as open as you can be on every level of your embodiment and your awareness to receive what will be offered today, and know that probably 90% of what's being offered is offered below the level of conscious awareness. So it's like an ongoing, it's like Yeshua said, because I remember this in my times with him back then. He said, and of course, you know, when he has said profound things, you kind of remember these things even lifetimes later. But he said, what I give to you, I give for all of eternity. And so that's part of what's in the work, so to speak, that we express. So we give it all for eternity. So, you know, people could listen to this podcast 5 years from now and get a whole lot.
Yeah, because the transmissions are eternal, and we can connect to them in the divine timing for each of us.
Yes, exactly. Take maybe a minute to how shall we say, to embody sacred space And as you know, sacred space is very important as a container so people can receive. So I would like to ask all of us, just take a moment and go into the silence of your being, whatever that means for you. So
And
basically,
it's
you can close your eyes for a moment and allow your eyes to rest. Like put your eyes for just a moment and pause. So that will help to calm the nervous system down and your body can naturally refocus into this now moment.
and of course, if you're driving, you'll be wise enough to know not to do close your eyes.
Or as we used to say in the old days, just pull off the side of the road
Yeah,
for
thank
a
you.
moment.
And I'm going to
Yes.
participate with this as well.
And just simply allow your body to feel this resonance of stillness, of silence. Okay. And then we will say at this beginning here that it will be we who speak with you. So it's not just I, a personal I, but it's a we, it's a collective consciousness that comes through in the work. Okay, we're ready to roll, ready to rock and roll here.
Well, I feel it already. One of my key indicators is heat.
Yeah,
And
heat.
so if you were to take my body temperature right now, you'd see a lot of heat. So that's a good sign. And for those who maybe are open and on board, fantastic. And I'd like to pose a question maybe for those who are either skeptical, uncertain, have a lot of questions right now, and want to make sure that they're in a safe space to continue. Is there anything that you'd like to share speaking to that mindset?
Yes. What I've come to realize, because we've all gone to see a zillion healers and psychics and channelers and teachers and workshops and retreats and seminars, and we get the high, but then we kind of backslide back down to kind of like where we were before. The reason for that is, well, on a very core level, is that and we are, what shall we say, holding the space for everyone to recalibrate into trust and safety. So when your body, your whole body, but especially the base of your spine, can feel, because your body has a consciousness, that it is safe to trust, it is safe to open up, and is safe to receive, that makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
So we would just ask everyone to, how should I say, take a leap of faith in a sense, and just open up to the frequency of trust and safety, knowing that all is well.
Mm-hmm. And of course, people can use their own discernment with that, whatever
Yes.
feels right for them in the moment.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. Well, we were talking before the recording started about us being in pivotal times and how even uh, those who have been on the journey for a long time are coming even into new awareness. And so, is there anything that you'd like to share with the audience about these pivotal times or new awareness that might help us bridge into what might be considered challenges or uncertainties or difficulties or even excited not knowing?
Yes. The great unknown.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that we can share is that you are not your emotions and you're not your thoughts. And whatever you're going through in your life regarding challenges, because the shadow aspect, as they say in psychology, is being brought forth because of the intensity of the solar radiations that are coming onto the planet. And so it's a call to reawaken into that which is truly real and not of the illusion. So the illusion, in a sense, is that we have gotten primarily stuck in the emotional body and the mental body in our experiences, especially in the last 5 years, the last 4 years, yeah, the last 5 years. And there's a lot coming up collectively and individually. So when you can raise your frequency from a soul level out of what you experience emotionally and psychologically into the realm, how shall we say, for lack of a better term, we can call it the quantum, we can call it the oneness, but let's just say if we're speaking about frequencies, the frequency of love, when we can rise at least to that level, then we can begin to see with clarity the lesson of what we're going through. And remember, collectively, mankind is going through its dark night of the soul. And for me personally, that lasted many years, almost 20 years. So
Mm.
that was a very long haul for me. Um, in fact, I had probably about three, but one really major 20-year cycle. So humanity's going through this dark night of the soul in search of itself. And it's still, what shall we say, entangled in the web of mm, unconsciousness and fear. So when we can begin to raise our frequency from fear and doubt and loneliness and depression and anxiety and all of that, because it's just a frequency, then we can begin to see with clarity the lesson. So there's always a lesson in a way, not a karmic thing necessarily, but a lesson to be acknowledged in whatever we experience, good, bad, and indifferent.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. It's so easy to be in love when you're in love. And it's so hard to be in love when you're in fear.
There's an old saying that fear and doubt are the brother and sister act of humanity.
So we're deep in that act.
Yeah, yeah. You know, and even so-called light workers, I like to call them star seeds or light
Mhm.
workers, um, they still are going through their stuff. One of the things that we would like people to open up to shifting is this sense of going from aloneness or loneliness into a place where they don't feel so isolated and alone. So even star seeds have a bit of a challenge in getting together and
And
connecting, even if it's a social event. Part of it is because they say, well, I'm really sensitive and I can't go out into town, or like, I don't want to go to this gathering, or I don't want to go on this hike, or whatever. They have these reasons because of their sensitivity.
mhm.
But see, a master has to learn how to, well, be a master of their sensitivity and not be overwhelmed.
Yep.
Yeah.
And be in the thick of it.
Yes, of course. Like as an old saying, if you can be a master in the marketplace and on this planet, you can be a master wherever you go in other systems and planets.
Hmm.
This is the big school, the big postgraduate school of ascension learning, right? If you can master Earth, you can go anywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're reminding me of the messages that I heard so many years ago from Lee Carroll, who channels Cryon, that many
Mhm.
light workers are like the lighthouse that are by themselves on the edge of the sea, being alone and being the way showers so that the boats don't crash or the ships don't crash into the rocks, into the shoreline. But that's a lonely place, and feeling like you're the outsider in your own family, or that if you do have connections with other people of like mind or energy, that they're brief or fleeting, or that maybe they're not in your physical environment. So there can be a deep loneliness while we're being presented with all of those earth school lessons to strengthen our ascension muscles. Because if
Yeah.
we float along a little bit too complacent or too easy, then we're not really maybe learning as much, although it can be fun. And so, yeah, I've seen that in my own life, going back and forth between those extremes of being alone, not fitting in, being sensitive, needing to isolate, which I needed to do, kind of like you're talking about the dark night of the soul. I needed that time to rebuild, like cocooning. It was very important. But then there's that mama bird who pushes you out of the nest, like, okay, go. You're like, wait
That's
a
right.
minute, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's where the magic can happen, and that trust and faith that you were talking about at the beginning of the meditation. Because it is easy to be like, I don't know about this. Really? I'm supposed to be around these people with these ideas and pushing these buttons? So much for all
That,
that learning I did. It goes out the window because here I am reacting.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I've always believed that I could talk to anybody on their level, and I've been able to do that in my life. But I thought this when I was a little kid, growing up. I was a young adult. I thought that no, I could talk to anybody, and I practice that when I go out in the marketplace. I'll just create a conversation,
Hmm.
or I'll say something funny, channeling the comedy team at the grocery store while you're waiting in line, right?
Yeah.
Or to give somebody a compliment, you know?
Hmm.
You look at the world and everybody is in such a cocoon space. They don't look at people, they don't talk to people, and they look sober, somber, scared, pissed off, you name it, right?
Yep.
And it wasn't like this when I grew up, of course, different times, but again, there wasn't this aura of fear in the atmosphere when I grew up. So a lot of these like Gen Zers and even the teenagers now, they don't have a perspective on what it was like before
Yeah.
2020, let's just say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really changed. And had we known this in our pre-incarnation council meeting, I don't know if we would have come. Really? We're gonna have to go through that? Well, I don't know. Maybe I can postpone this, but nah, we're here. So
Yeah.
no, and a lot of star seeds, they have thoughts every now and then of like, just get me out of here, God.
Yeah.
It's too intense, it's too aggressive, it's too crazy.
Yeah.
But
And I don't want to work that hard, and it's too much struggle, and I'm
yeah,
not connecting to my joy enough.
yeah.
Yeah.
But again, if we raise the frequency out of that into at least the love frequency, then we can, how shall we say, we can be the conscious navigator of our light ship, as we say, right?
I love that.
We can
Conscious
cruise the
navigator of your light
ship.
ship.
Yeah, we all have a light ship. We have a favorite light ship. We go out there cruising out there in the cosmos when we're not in our bodies. I mean, what better things to do, right? But that's why Star Trek was so popular. It touched a chord
Yep.
on a deeper level.
Yes. And so how can we so we talked a little bit about the people who were like, I'm not so sure if this is the right podcast for me or information. But
Yeah.
then we also talked about the people who are on board. So, and we're talking a little bit about star seeds and light workers. So,
Hmm.
what about the people who kind of have two gears? And one of them is they just kind of like do great in the marketplace, with everyday normal reality, 3D
Hmm.
reality. And they do really, really well on their own as star seeds,
Okay.
like in their privacy.
Yeah.
But what about those are their like two gears and they t take place in different environments. How do we bridge? How do we connect? How do we take the sacred and the ordinary, the private and the public, the trigger and the love? Or is that asking too much, or is that something that we're moving towards?
Let me see if we can extrapolate what we're bringing forth here. So if one can hold the idea, it all begins with an idea, as Plato had described in his writings. If you ever study Plato, which I recommend, everything starts with an idea in the void. So if we were to hold in our awareness the idea that we can and that we will effortlessly be able to communicate with anybody, we will be able to do that without any expectations, of course, on what you are sharing with other people. Because we are here to simply offer, are we not? We're here to offer. We're not here necessarily to teach people anything or to program them into believing a certain way or any of that stuff. If we're here just to offer our presence, our beingness, that's all that's required. And then if they are interested and it triggers something within them, strikes a chord in their soul, they will ask questions and then you can respond in a deeper way. So the idea is we're not here to force our trip on anybody else, as we used to say in the 1970s, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Yeah. The hippie movement has some really great sayings that I'm remembering to use because they were spot on. We used to say, well, that's right on. When somebody would say something that
Yep.
was truthful, we would say, right on, bro, right on, sis, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we should bring that back. Right on. So, you know, I've noticed that star seeds have a reluctance to share
Hmm.
deeply because they have some issues with the throat chakra.
Hmm.
As an example, oh, they may not be understood, or I'll get criticized for saying this, or, you can make up a zillion reasons.
Yeah.
But our challenge, our lesson is to hold the idea that we can speak freely and spontaneously without pre-thought. That's for all psychologists in the world, without thought in our communications with others.
Yeah.
If parents taught kids not to pre-think or to keep that innocent kind of vibration when they were 2, 3, 4 years old into adulthood, well, it'd be a whole different world. But let's just say that we are re-educating ourselves to language in a way that is most powerful, that's most self-empowering. I used to have a lot of negative
Hmm.
self-talk.
Hmm.
Early on, we all did, right? We just had these limited beliefs and these sabotaging thoughts. And, when I was in high school, I thought I was not very smart and I almost didn't graduate from high school. I
Wow.
had, I had to repeat American history of all classes, right? To graduate.
Sorry. That's ironic.
Yeah.
I'm laughing for several reasons, but one of them is because my sense of you, even though we haven't met, is that you probably could have rewritten an more accurate history book.
Yes, I could have. Yeah, I could have been the teaching assistant actually instead of the student. I was so bored throughout all my education
Yeah.
until I got to college. Then I got stimulated, of course, in the right way.
Hmm.
Uh, Had some great teachers that saw who I was. I
Yeah.
went, wow. I'm going to tell you a story, and this might help your audience. So when I was getting my master's degree, and I did a very unusual thing that I wasn't supposed to tell anybody, but I will share this because they're on the other side, my professors, right? So they don't care. But I got my master's degree even before I had a bachelor's degree.
Oh,
I somehow swung it to where I got both literally at the same time. And I was the only male, one of five students, incoming freshmen that were accepted into this educational program at this college where I went. Out of like 55, 56 applicants, they only took like 10%. And I
hmm,
was the only male that they took. And I was the only minority. That's what they called Japanese people back then.
hmm.
But my professor told me just in conversation in her office one time that no, and no one told me this before. She goes, well, you see the whole picture before
Yeah.
you see the parts.
Yeah.
So she was saying, well, most students, they say the parts to get the whole. You already have the whole.
Yeah.
And I went, wow, really? I mean, it was like it opened my eyes up to like, wow, really? Because I didn't know I did that. But that's just something I've always done, I suppose.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that story. I think there's a lot of people listening who know of themselves or their loved ones or people who they work with
Hmm.
that are that comprehensive, like a gestalt thinker, someone who sees the big picture right away, and it doesn't fit into a neat box for our current educational system. And a lot of the younger people coming up are naturally inclined towards the thinking that you have, the comprehensive understanding, seeing the big picture, thinking visually, not so much in words, more symbolically and metaphorically, and in terms of energy and movement, and not times tables and handwriting, although I don't know that they're even teaching handwriting anymore, but printing, whatever, anything sequential and that builds over from small to large. And the idea is that the negative thought is that somehow this is a broken way of understanding the world, when in fact it's probably closer to our natural evolutionary stream, because you need to see the big picture when you're out in the wilderness. You can't be focusing on a ladybug when there's a tiger nearby. You're not going to last very long. So, how beautiful that you lasted through the system long enough to find that inspirational voice and that space, and that your professors were keen enough to grant you this atypical path. So thank you for sharing that story. I hope that on the other side they're smiling now and seeing how wise their choices were.
Yes, I'm finally implementing what I learned in academic education into my practice. But this is what I've done. When I was an early adult in my 20s, I thought, let's integrate Eastern and Western thought and let's marriage the masculine and the feminine. But I didn't have terms like that back then, being in my early 20s. So I thought, well, I come to know that I'm an integrator, kind of a natural integrator, so I can integrate things very easily. And
Mhm.
this is one of the things that we teach, right? Because it's not taught generally in the educational system or in the churches or anything like that. So I think really where my perspective is coming from is we are offering something that isn't being taught. And we're creating a curriculum because that's the grounded aspect of the work. And people can kind of relate to that because they've gone through the traditional schooling with curriculum and objectives and goals and all that. but put it in a grounded way where they can develop a very strong foundation for their spiritual work as they go through life. This is what was missing in my life. When I was a teenager, I had this really, I had these thoughts and I never told my parents because I knew nobody would understand me in my environment. So I just won't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that's still common today with star seeds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not that you have to be selective with what you share with people, but yeah, there's kind of like this knowing, yeah, they're not quite there, so I won't speak about that because they just go, huh?
Yeah.
But I had this thing of where I would miss my Friday lesson with my teacher as a teenager. So no one showed up in my early life to be a mentor for me. And I remember thinking a lot, God, I miss my Friday lessons with my teacher.
Mm.
Isn't that a funny thing? I actually missed it. So I was remembering my past lives or my alternate life uh, uh, relationships on that level. So I grew up not having a mentor for a long time. So I had to be the seeker. I was a very good seeker. I mastered the art of seeking with no money. And that's really hard with very little money and very little clothes on my back for many decades, being the
Wow.
seeker and not, and for 20 years, I never stayed in one house for more than 6 months. I was
Oh,
continually moving because I was like a grasshopper. I was hopping from one place to another because I couldn't find it. I couldn't find the answer.
did you get pieces along the way?
I got pieces, yes, I got pieces. Um, it was only after I left my last teacher back about 20 years ago, a little over 20 years ago, I knew I had to start my own unique practice, not
Mm-hmm.
copy anybody else's teachings. And so that's what I did. And so here's how divine guidance works. So I taught my first little small workshop at the end of 2006 when I was living in Seattle to the Boeing company. They had a parapsychology club, and I gave it was either a free weekend workshop or it was a $35 workshop. Uh, back in the good old days. That was the start of my teaching on this level. And so I did that, didn't get really any feedback from it. And so I'm sitting in my apartment, and then all of a sudden, this guy from Taos, Mexico, calls me on the phone. He said he got my information from my newsletter that someone had sent him,
Mm-hmm.
and he asked if I could come to Taos to teach the work. So apparently, I don't know, I didn't have a website at the time, so I don't know how well, he asked me, what do you do? And so I tried to explain to him. He invited me to Taos to do some intros and personal sessions. And that started my traveling to many places and teaching the work. But I had no idea before that how I was going to build my practice because let's see, back then I was still in credit card debt. So things were a bit sketchy, as hikers would say. That was a little sketchy for me in those few years. But then as I got invited and got sponsors to travel and teach, then everything shifted. But
Wow.
I had no idea. And I wasn't praying to go travel and teach. I wasn't praying to get a sponsor to sponsor the work. It just kind of occurred. So in my life, I didn't use the principle of, in The Secret, that movie, they talked about, I guess, power of intention.
Yeah.
That never worked for me for some odd reason. So things would happen that I never even visualized consciously in my life, especially in my later life.
Yeah. Well, you did all your work, not all of it, but you did it. You did honest work. on yourself. I mean, 20 years with the Dark Night of the Soul. Wow. I mean, some people have lifetimes of it, I understand, but that's a long time. And to just relentlessly have to go through that and maybe seeing bits of light here and there, but not really pulling it all together. So you had a powerful message that people needed to hear. And so the right people found you.
Yeah, it's like those are very fun days for me. And that's where I learned about what I know. So there's kind of a saying that you teach what you need to learn. Well, actually, you teach what you need to remember. And so that was my opportunity to remember, oh, wow. Yeah, and this is easy. So I never studied how to channel. I think I was kind of born
Yeah.
with those pathways open, but it didn't develop until I had the opportunity to go travel and teach. And I practiced the art of spontaneous expression in my trainings. And I was modeling for the students how to do that because I'm a believer in modeling, right?
Yeah.
Show people what it's like, what you're talking about, the whole philosophy, if you will, of the power of presence, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Well, I was just doing my best to model the vibrations and the frequencies. And then I learned, I went to see this one guy when I was in Seattle. Now, believe it or not, he would regurgitate out of his body little crystals from the higher dimensions and Saint Germain hangs out. Let's say on the fifth dimension.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow he had the ability or was trained to regurgitate like upchuck these little tiny crystals out of his mouth onto a white sheet that his his staff was holding in front of him, and the crystals would land on the sheet,
Mm-hmm.
all nice and clean.
Mm.
So they came from the other dimensions.
Wow.
But he told me something as he was giving little crystals to different people, and he gave me one. He gave me a little Saint Germain amethyst piece. He said, "This is from Saint Germain for you." But he said, now this was happening before, but I had no idea, right? So we grow up with these abilities, but we really don't realize like not everybody has these abilities because they are not working on themselves and constantly developing their gifts and remembering their gifts. But
Mm-hmm.
he said something like, angels speak through your voice. And then I went, ah, I had this like aha moment. It's like, oh, that's what that is.
Thanks for naming it for me.
Yeah, thanks for labeling it for me. Yeah, now I know. Okay, that's cool. Yeah. But ever since I've been doing activations, people will go, God, I just love your voice is so calming and peaceful. Well, that's part of the reason.
Yeah.
And it's a funny thing. Even to this day, when we've been doing activations on this level for like over 20 years, people still zone out. They're aware of the beginning part of the activation, and they come back at the end when we say, okay, now return to your room and your body. They're not aware of all that happens in between. They're like
Mm-hmm.
totally gone. Even to this day,
Mm-hmm.
I've had people say, I've been following you ever since 2012, and I still can't stay present for the activations.
Interesting.
They just zone out. But here's the thing. Um, Many people, even star seeds, haven't learned yet the art of really deep stillness and relaxation, which is very key for your body to receive. My dad used to say, you need to learn how to relax because I was really hyper as a little kid. I don't know if I had ADHD or ADD or anything like that, but I had a lot of energy
Yeah.
and I couldn't sit still necessarily. I had to like do sports and like, stuff like that. But I knew dad, was telling the truth. I go, yeah, that's right. I need to learn how to relax.
Yeah, I was thinking about that when you mentioned that you were like a grasshopper going every 6 months from place to place for so long. And
Yeah.
that, but I introduced you as someone who's very learned about presence. But, Kenji, I've seen this back when I was doing less of the energy work and so on. I was doing more conventional psychology work. I did psychological testing for children, like in the
Hmm.
educational system, but in private practice. And we would get kids who would have different styles of learning and have what looked like hyperactivity and so on. And I thought, oh, this is like my left brain training. But in secret, I'm reading like metaphysical books and doing automatic writing and working with Reiki energy and all the rest. And I thought, well, these are different worlds. But as I got to work with the children more, I realized, no, these are starseed children. They're looking like what we put in boxes as being, learning disabilities and all. And then the testing showed, yes, that it was and and also they had other ways of knowing, and also some of their agitation or lack of focus, I think is partly because they were connecting to other levels of dimensions of reality without training, without awareness, and without an ability to kind of measure it, ground it, direct it. Because of course not. Who would teach them? They were like you, missing their Friday teacher.
Yeah.
And so, it wasn't my job to kind of necessarily go there.
Hmm.
But for the families who were open, I would ask the parents about themselves and if they had noticed anything in the family line or what they were noticing about the children, especially when they were young before they went to school. And all the stories would pour out. Oh, they saw my aunt in the nursery, all the things. They always knew, blah, blah, blah. They had the ability to heal. They were traveling in their dreams. They're, all the stuff that I was reading about and so excited about exploring in my private life was right there in the consultation room. And so it gave me more courage as a therapist to be more present with all of it, to learn more, to start teaching about intuition and so on. So I'm with you with that. I see the merging of the worlds and that all of it can be true. Um, and it's a matter of, it's just like giving someone the keys to the car when they're 5. Like you'd expect them to get into an accident. Like without training, driving without, of course. So how can we help people learn, um, regardless of their age? And so I like the idea of what you're saying of meeting people where they are, having the trust, having the presence, and the spontaneous, whatever it is. For me, it's writing, it's dance, it's speaking, but everyone has their own, it's knowing just where to stand in the room next to the person and maybe say nothing, but where your presence is needed or how
Hmm.
to go refresh yourself so that you're not feeling the burden or the debris or stuck yourself. So all of that is being in the flow.
What I missed growing up, if I would have had a school, if I could have went to a school that taught about spiritual development, what chakras are about, how to use that, what's the auric field like, all this stuff, out of body travel, all this stuff that the star seeds kind of they kind of do, but they still keep it hidden. If I could have gone to school like that, I would have flourished. I would have been the happiest kid on the earth.
Yeah.
But I got stuck in the traditional system, so I got bored. I got into trouble.
Yeah.
I got bored basically. And
Yep.
I know a lot of these kids are very bored with the curriculum, obviously for obvious reasons. And, I think the so-called behavioral issues that some star seeds have is because the container that they're being educated in or counseled in does not fit them.
Right.
It's an obvious, very old, archaic model.
Yep.
If I would have been taught growing up about sacred geometry, I probably would have ate it up, man. I would have going, okay, man.
Yeah. Well, it's changing. And the the kids from the 1990s, late 80s, early 90s that are older now, they're not kids, and they saw how broken the system was, are becoming the leaders. And so the innovation is coming and it's already here in certain ways, in certain schools, in certain private, or after school or quietly. But I really like your message of being bold with, if you come from your heart and you're really clear about your own shadow material, which is not an easy thing to be aware of, and you're not trying to sell or push anything or convince anyone, people feel that sincerity. I felt it in you. And that speaks volumes because then people know that they're safe in your presence and then they can venture to become curious.
Curious again.
Yes.
Yes.
Curious and then feeling safe enough to maybe venture into some spaces that they were not as secure about. So I love your invitation with this. I think it's exactly what we need right now. So thank you for that. Teaching.
Yeah. What the world needs now is a little bit of peace and calm and safety and trust and lots of love.
Oh,
I will say though, no matter what people are going through, you're going to make it because I made it. It's the old saying, well, if I can make it, you can make it. Yeah, my life hasn't been easy, especially financially and even physically with clothes and stuff. There were decades where I had very little clothes. When I was in high school, my parents gave me $75 clothing allowance each year. So
mm,
I could buy Levi jeans, a Pendleton wool shirt, maybe some underwear, socks, and shoes. That was it. And I remember having like one pair of jeans in high school, believe it or not, one pair of jeans and about four shirts and Converse tennis shoes.
mm,
So I didn't have much as far as clothing goes.
mm.
So I don't know what that was about, but my parents weren't necessarily poor, but they weren't rich either. But they had to work a lot.
Yeah, they provided what they could.
Yeah, they probably what they could. So luckily, I didn't end up living in the ghettos, so to speak. That's what we called them back then, where I grew up in the Bay Area. But it took. I look at. I think I had the same pattern that my dad had. My dad didn't have much until he was older and then got a good job at the Department of Agriculture.
Hmm.
And then he could buy clothes and stuff like that. Um, I
Hmm.
think I might have inherited or had a similar pattern where
Yeah,
I was scarce on certain levels until I got older.
yeah.
So, that's good perspective coming from a place of not very much to the other end of the spectrum, so to speak. But I think where my wisdom lies is I'm somehow able to understand people's lives. I don't really have to share that much about it, but energetically, I can just get a sense of like their journey and
Hmm.
uh, kind of like where they're at.
Yeah.
I used to be able to read people naturally
Hmm.
when I was growing up, but I didn't know that, right? I didn't know about the stuff until I studied psychic stuff, and then I realized, oh, I kind of have done this all my life.
Yeah.
Didn't realize it. So it was kind of like an what's the word? Um, it was a gift that wasn't channeled like it could be, I guess
Hmm.
you could say. So it was like an unconscious gift.
Hmm. Raw talent.
Huh?
Raw talent. Yeah, you were developing your spiritual gifts. And
Yeah,
then now that they're more settled, the material is catching up. The material world is catching up. Hmm.
catching up.
Beautiful. I love it. And for those who are only listening and not seeing, you have a quite a captivating backdrop behind you on the screen. Would you care to as we're coming to the end of our time, describe it to those who can't see what it is.
Let me just take off this here. Okay. So my former webmaster from 2018 to 2022, he was my right-hand man. So he did all the back end work and stuff and email campaigns and everything. I just wrote content and did videos and stuff. So I asked him to do this is from Photoshop because he knew how to do Photoshop. I asked him to do a image of my guides.
Oh,
So this is what he came up with.
oh.
And if you can see in the left corner or maybe the right corner, there's a unicorn there. So I asked him also, yeah, put in a unicorn or two.
Hmm.
And put in some angels, ascended masters. And so this is what he did. And that little temple area you see,
Mhm.
um, back when I was living in Tucson, I did a trade with this artist who was actually the book artist for Patty Cota Roldes's books
Oh,
for many decades. I think her name was Sharon. I says, "You want to do a trade? I'd like a drawing of my temple on the inner planes." So she put that together within about 3 days or something. She just got right to it. So that's what she drew.
mm,
So Michael put that, superimposed that also into the image there.
mm. It's very powerful. So there's the top third of the rectangle is the black night sky with the white dots representing stars.
Mhm.
And then the main part of the image that takes up the full center of the space, and then the side borders is these incredible pastel colors and pinks and blues and turquoise and gold, and with this hazy rainbow light kind of emanating from the center up into the sky, like skylights going up.
Mhm.
And then within that image are these, what you would say, I guess, angels, ascended masters
Mhm.
facing forward from maybe the waist up,
Mhm.
with halos around their heads. Some are offering a light ball, or their hearts are illuminated with the shining white, or they're wearing robes of different uh, golden hues, beige, different skin tones, white, gray, silver. It's just stunning.
Mm. Thank you. And there's pillars of lights. You can see the pillars of lights there. We use the 4 pillars of lights as a
Okay.
protocol for our meditation.
Yeah. And when you were sitting and speaking, because you've taken yourself off the screen for a moment, there's like an orb of light that is over the palace from side to side, like a rainbow shape. And you
Uh-huh.
were positioned straight in the middle of it. And when you were talking about your childhood and trying to understand your gifts in school, but not
Mhm.
having the mentor, I could see that beautiful orb around you. And it's such a metaphor for all that complete knowledge that you already had.
And this is what we teach. We teach people how to be able to do this.
Yeah.
Put myself back
Thank
here.
you for that journey.
What I realize in my later years, guess how old I am?
Well, you gave me a hint
Oh,
when we were
okay.
talking earlier about college and when that happened.
Well, how old do I look?
I would say that you certainly do not look 16 or 17 years old.
Oh, shoot.
But if I were to guess, I would say somewhere between middle 50s to maybe 10 years or 15 years older than that. It's hard to tell exactly, as
I
we,
turned 79 this year.
oh my goodness.
And I feel much better now than I did when I was younger, believe it or not.
Wow.
But my point was, since we're coming to the end of this
Yes.
podcast, Oh, so here's another kind of innate awareness I've had all my life, but didn't really realize it till I started teaching. Well, two things. One, not that I can see the future of people, but what I can see clearly through my physical eyes is their potential.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can actually feel it too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when I usually ask them questions about what they like to do, I go, oh yeah, I already saw that or I already knew that. Yeah, well, that's
Mm.
perfect, right? And I can do this with little kids too. I can almost not predict, but I can kind of get a sense of what they're going to be when they grow up, like
Yeah.
a veterinarian or a horse trainer or a doctor or a physicist, you know? But the main thing is everybody has a unique talent, a signature talent that they brought through in this life. And part of my role, in a sense, is to help them to develop that skill, to hone that skill, which could be their career or maybe not.
Mhm.
But see, if I had a teacher that would have mentored me with my gifts, I would have been a very happy little kid growing up.
Yeah.
So what I missed in my life, I'm offering to these young kids. A mentor that can help them. Oh, so what we offer, no matter what kind of format we offer the teachings,
Mm-hmm.
I have a very strong awareness that it can be done. In other words, I don't have any doubt as
Yeah.
to how the energies and the teachings can help people. I'm very confident in that because I'm not personally doing it, right? I'm
Yeah.
kind of I'm kind of being a frequency holder for all
Yeah.
that to come through.
Conduit.
Yeah.
Lovely. And I think also because you do actually, as your own personality, see the potential anchor. And so then you know, oh, yeah, we're just heading, it's like steering the ship. There's the island. Okay, let the prevailing winds lead us, you
Yeah,
know, and you can
exactly.
kind of sit back and let the steering wheel take itself. So, but you need
Oh,
to have the vision.
yeah.
Yeah. Super beautiful. Wow. I feel like I've been on a personal journey with you and with the collective. It's just been fantastic, delightful, and I'm so, so grateful. And I can see the point in the future where I will be in Sedona with you.
Just get some really good hiking shoes and we'll be all set.
I love it. So, is there anything else you'd like to share before we say goodbye for today?
Well, I'd like to add just a little bit about presence. So if you're not your emotions and you're not your thoughts and you're not your physical body, then what are you? So what's left is your presence. And there are degrees, levels of presence. And we're learning how to anchor and embody in the fullness of our physical form these frequencies of presence, little by little. You don't want to do the whole thing at once because your brain will just implode.
Hmm.
So we always go with the safety of one step at a time, like Buddha taught, like Jesus taught, one step at a time, layer by layer,
Hmm.
till at some point one will realize, wow, now I don't have to do any more. I can just be my natural cosmic soul vibration, and that is enough for this lifetime, and things will get done. You will draw people to you that you need for your team or whatever.
Yeah.
Things will come. And then that's when we talk about blessings and miracles where, oh my God, I was just thinking about this and like this person just called me out of the blue. I don't even know this person offer this thing. I mean, you hear these stories.
Yeah.
When we get to this vibration of miracles and grace and abundance, then that's when life becomes really fun, as you know, becomes a joy to be on the planet instead of like, oh God, how much longer are I going to be here on the planet, man?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. And we need that vibration now more than ever.
yes, we do.
Yeah.
So, just for those of you that like to meditate, but would like to also see your environment shift, what I do every day. None of my friends do this. I kind of tell them I do this, but they don't even have a reaction or a response. It's almost like they don't care, which is like, really? Come on.
Mhm.
And you're living in Sedona. But what I do is I invite the spirit of Sedona into my meditations every day. I invite the universe, my
Mhm.
guides. I invite all of the nature spirits, but especially because Sedona can be a very special place. It's still in question if it's going to shift into a prototype light city for the planet.
Oh.
That that's its that's its future matrix is a
Hmm.
prototype light city for the world, but especially for America.
Mhm.
But because of the commercialization and the tourism and this and that and the other Airbnb stuff, lack of housing, all that, right? It's kind of a mess in a sense of what it could be. So I bring in the spirit of Sedona as a collective into my meditations, and we meditate in stillness, we meditate in balance and harmony. So everything that kind of expresses through me goes out and into the valley of Sedona
Mhm.
because we've invited that spirit to come into the meditations. So I invite people when you meditate to invite the spirit not only of your home, because your home has a spirit in a sense, and your car,
Mhm.
not just objects, right?
And your
They're,
cell phone.
hmm?
And your cell phone.
I say your cell phone, your computer, yes. Your wallet, your money, your purse, all that
Yep.
stuff, right? Your credit cards. But invite the spirit of your neighborhood and your city and your county into your meditations.
Mm.
So when you're meditating, you are, how shall we say, embodying the frequencies of harmony and peace and joy and love. That's going to go out there because you've invited them there. And eventually you're going to see a change in your immediate physical environment. But if we don't do that, nothing's going to happen,
Right.
right? We are conscious creators.
Yes.
So we can do this. And I always send out the light before I go out in town to do my errands. I always send out the light to prepare the way to how shall we say, have that frequency of love and joy and peace go before you. So wherever you go, you've already sent out the light. So there you are in the light, more in the light, in the grocery store, at the bank, laundromat, hospital,
Yep.
whatever, right?
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you. So many treasures you shared.
You're
This has been just wonderful. Thank you.
most welcome.
Okay. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Thank you for joining us for today's podcast. If you want to learn more, you can visit my website for podcast and resources at hopshealingtips.com. You can also like, share, and subscribe to this channel. This podcast is for information and entertainment purposes only and is not providing healthcare advice. Please seek guidance from your professional healthcare team should you need assistance.